in America, if we go back 10 years, when some of these techniques, and particularly neuro-linguistic programming techniques, were being used, several people started to take cases to court because the techniques had been used on them without their knowledge and permission, and that effectively was assault. If you take it to an extreme, if you have somebody who is very powerful in their ability to manipulate somebody's mind, I'll give a crude example. A man meets a lady in a bar. He has the ability, just by conversation, to apply these techniques on the woman in order to get her into bed. Now, unless she is aware of what's being done to her by the use of these psychological techniques, she won't know, but what the man is actually doing is assault upon her. And what we are now seeing is that our own elected politicians, and believe me, when we get to the likes of Cameron and Clegg and Maud Miliband, Mandelson, they know what is actually being done, and it is unbelievably dangerous, because people who have personality problems anyway, or susceptibility to personality problems, can be tipped over the edge by these techniques. So it's not just common purpose, that is a double dose, because they are playing around with people's minds and recruiting them into an organisation. We're also seeing this raw stuff used. We have got the documentary proof of it being used in the NHS and in the police, and we know for a fact that it is being used within the social services training system, and that is why so many of the mums and dads who are being victimised by child services and social services are repeatedly saying that they are meeting individuals who seem to have they don't have any normal human warmth or sympathy or empathy. You're dealing with a man or a woman who is totally blank and cold, particularly when it comes to the dealing with the children's needs. Mm-hmm. And this is a very, very dangerous thing, because we know full well that when the Nazi regime started, one of the first things they did was to desensitize the people who were going to handle victims within the mental institutions and people who were physically handicapped. And this is real, it's documented. It was going on in the late 30s, and from the research we're seeing at the moment, the same vicious political doctrine is driving this law. It is phenomenal that this is going on in the United Kingdom in 2011. I'm not talking hearsay, we are talking factual evidence, but it's so difficult to get out because the moment you start to tell the truth or print the truth, along come the family court judges, and they're handing out injunctions left, right and centre. Of course they want to put injunctions on us because they are doing their damnedest to cover up the child abuse that they're helping to foment, to carry out. And the other thing which I think is highly important for listeners to understand is that the family court,
we may have some issues with being able to put them on the TPUC server, so these pods may have
we're not mentioning any names. We're dealing with the normal level of information that can be published, reference these cases.
Okay, absolutely. Well, I think we've certainly stayed within those realms currently. So
just the point which we really need to get out is that the family division courts are being run as statute law courts, administrative courts, and therefore they are unlawful courts. And this is absolutely key, because you're using effectively star chambers, secret, unlawful courts to take people's children away from them. This is straight out of the Soviet Union or East Germany or Nazi Germany.
Well, this isn't new though, is it? This has been happening.
Sorry, I don't know whether you... let me just turn that up a little bit more, love. Okay, fabulous. I'm terribly sorry about that. Hold up for those people on the high-end service. My computer is failing rapidly under the strain of trying to run this radio show through it. Brian was saying about how the social services are able to essentially give whatever version of events they see fit, while the rest of us are gagged through the supposedly... the secrecy that is facilitated through the child courts. Yeah. This is absolutely key. I just want to say something else. There's going to be a lot of social services people listening, and I am not saying that this problem is throughout the whole of social services and child services. What we are seeing is that within their organisations there are clusters of people who clearly do not have the best interests of mums and dads and children, and they're able to get away with their very unpleasant actions because the child courts, the family courts, refuse to allow juries, so we don't have ordinary people inside those courts, and they are gagging people who are trying to tell the truth about what's really happening. Was that it was a statute law court, that is an administrative court. It means it is not running under common law. It is therefore unlawful. And we have a situation where unlawful secret courts are taking people's children away. And the mother or father or both are being faced with bias, because we have a contract in place between the Family Law Division and CAFCAS, as just one example. They've signed a contract, so they're working in partnership, and therefore a judge cannot possibly say that they are independent. They're working in partnership with CAFCAS. If you sum this up, it means that the moment a mother or a father, parents go into a family court, they are faced with overwhelming bias, and since there is no jury present and there's no press present, the judges and the public sector are creating their own rules, and those rules are overwhelmingly taking children away on lies, false evidence, perjury, false testimony by so-called clinical psychologists or psychiatrists. Any mother or father that really fights for their child, the establishment, the public sector, aided by the likes of CAFCAS, do their damnedest to brand the parents as mentally ill in some form. It's absolutely wicked, but the only way that you can really experience what's going on in these courts is to be there alongside the parents. And that is why I and other people have made that effort. We've had many parents come to us telling us what's happened, but we cannot see it to be true. We couldn't see it to be true until we actually were able to go into the court and try and assist them. And believe me, what's being printed in the mainstream papers at the moment, I can't think of her name, but the lady who wrote in the Telegraph a while back, Fairweather. We've had Booker also in the Telegraph. They are getting part of the story out, but even those mainstream journalists are saying that their papers, big names, the Mail, the Telegraph, the Times, those big papers are being bullied by the Family Law Division to make sure the truth of this corruption in the family courts does not come out. If I sound passionate about this, believe me, I am. Oh, Brian, I'd be glad to tell anybody you were spitting bricks during this week when this was all going on.
Because it is absolutely so serious what is happening. I've said to many audiences that I've given talks to that it's very simple. If we cannot protect our children, then we don't have a future. And what is happening is that we are seeing thousands of children dragged off into a politicised and brutal so-called care system. Swansea admitted to me in the last few days that they've got over 500 children in their care system, and we wonder how many of those are being brutalised, as this young baby was. And we know, across the country, that a minimum of 64,000 children are now in this care system, which is totally secret. We've got to deal with this situation, and we've got to deal with it fast. And the best means of dealing with it is for people to expose the truth, and for people to start demanding that these secret courts are fully opened up. And we've seen time and time again that the likes of Jack Straw and Kenneth Clark and the Family Law Division, they have debates where they put up a smokescreen of words that they're going to do something about this situation. I'm going to say they are never going to do something about it unless they're pushed, because their objective is to break up families and steal children, essentially, in order to destabilise society. I can't put it over more.
Could I take you even deeper down the rabbit hole than that, possibly? And without drawing any inferences into this case or any of the cases that you were discussing that you're dealing with on a personal level, perhaps on a more generalistic level, would you suggest what the underlying purpose is for these forced adoptions? Where are these children being adopted into?
Well,
reason.
I have no doubt from my research, and there are many, many other people out there who have been researching far longer than I have. What we are seeing is a vicious political agenda which has the objective to break up as many family units as possible. And that is because a happy family unit is basic stability in society. If you break the family unit, it is much easier to manipulate and control mum and dad or the children as individuals. And we have got a vicious dictatorship forming. It's all colours, do not be fooled. It's blue or red or yellow. Lib Dems, Tories and Labour are working together on this. They want to destroy the family in order to help bring in this single socialist state. They want the children isolated because, as the Nazi regime identified very early on, if they control the children, they don't really care about protesters like myself and other people campaigning. They already own the minds of the children. These people are absolutely vicious. We've got a Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Clegg, who before the last election thought that a lady who was a director of porn films was an ideal candidate to be one of his MPs. Although it was kept very quiet, the Lib Dem party were pushing very hard for the age of consent to be further dropped to 14. And when we challenged them on that, when the UK column challenged them on that, they went very quiet. We have Labour MPs who were involved with Liberty. And Liberty, if you check back through its history, was linked to the Paedophile Information Exchange and another paedophile organisation. And in Europe, we are seeing more and more European legislation which is pushing towards making paedophilia lawful.